from Shot Out from the Pit. What a great day to be alive, and what an honor to be part of your recovery journey. We have another awesome show for you today. Hey, it's Bob the Old Rucker and my partner and producer, Redbeard. Pray your second week into 2026 is going great. Speaking of Redbeard, did you see his New Year One Honest Thing challenge? If you subscribe, highly encouraged, you'll know when an episode like Diane's Missives or an update like Redbeard's challenge is posted. So for now, go to shoutoutfromthepit.com. In the menu, select blog. Then under recent post, select New Year One Honest Thing challenge. We'll also post the link in the show notes through January. This is just another tool in your change agent kit. You know, the secret to happiness is being a change agent and doing stuff for other people. Now, it's been clinically proven in the Old Rucker lab of extraordinary experiments, so it must be true. Being a change agent and doing stuff for other people sort of begins with us individually. Redbeard opens up with a few of his own challenges and personal insight. He makes us think. Think of the things that are holding us back from being and living the best life we've ever lived. So take the challenge and let us know how it's going. And with the challenge, if you want to take it a step further, post your thoughts and insight, and we'll share those anonymously, of course, on the show so others will know they are not alone. Remember to subscribe to the show and share it with a friend. If you listen to the show on Spotify, iTunes, or any other platform, like, hit, and share when you can. We're moving up in the world thanks to your help. Subscribing gets you Diane's Missives full of awesome tools and encouragement and episodes designed to edutain as you trudge the road to happy destiny. Okay, so here's what to expect from this show. This is another episode in Therapeutic Writing and Recovery. We kicked off with Lynn Combs' story of how she survived an abusive relationship and turned her energies into creative writing. Today's episode features JC Crumpton and how he uses creative writing to help with traumatic brain injury he received from a horrible accident. Side note, it's folks like Lynn and JC sharing their experience, strength, and hope that give me hope in my own endeavors. I pray you feel the same. And now, on with the show. We are recording. JC Crumpton's in the house. Give a shout out, JC.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I thank you for coming all the way down from Northwest Arkansas. How long did it take you to get here?
Officially, 3 hours and 17 minutes.
There you go. Okay. All right, I got to do this opening here. So here we go. Shout out, folks. It's Bob the Old Rucker coming at you raw and uncensored. And as always, only God knows what's going to happen on this show. Welcome to Shout Out from the Pit, where the host sucks, but the guest is awesome. I'm the host, and Redbeard, the brains behind the scenes, is my friend, partner, and producer. So joining us today is JC Crumpton. JC, I'm really glad you came here, especially with the pre-show chats that we've had.
Yes, sir.
Your experience, strength, and hope is wonderful. So thanks for giving hope to the hurting that's out there and some inspiration for some of the topics we're going to talk about. So, and we'll get into that as we move along here. But so real quick, the abbreviated version, JC, I'm going to read your bio. But you're a writer, a military brat, a Navy veteran. Happy belated Veterans Day, by the way.
Thank you.
And you've dealt with family alcoholism. And you survived a horrific accident resulting in traumatic brain injury.
Yes.
All right. So we've got some topics to go over. So let me go ahead and read your bio here, man. I love how you wrote it, by the way. All right. So JC Crumpton was born in Southern California and grew up in San Diego, Chicago, Iceland, Germany, and Arkansas. What a vast difference. He lives in Northwest Arkansas with his wife, his cat and her dog. Why the emphasis?
She is not a cat person, and I'm not a dog person.
That's funny.
But even though dogs still love me. I don't know why.
I noticed it when you came in the door. Danny's right there laying next to you.
Yep.
That's funny. He greeted you like he does everybody, but that dog's never met a stranger. All right, so growing up as a military brat over a wide range of places gives JC a broad palette of experiences, I love this, to utilize in his writing. He has held a myriad of jobs, including fry cook, telemarketer, turkey herder. We're definitely coming back to that. Egg gatherer, delivery driver, soccer coach, substitute teacher, and sales analyst, making him a confused if well-rounded person. He received his undergraduate degree in English with a creative writing emphasis from the University of Arkansas, and worked 7 years for a daily newspaper, compiling a list of over 1,000 bylines. Silence in the Garden is JC's first published novel. More of his work has appeared in, you're going to have to say the word.
Oh, it's Kiss.
Okay. This is going to be in the show notes, folks, because not only can I not pronounce it, but I can't even spell it. Okay, so let me start again. More of his work has appeared in Aophis Kiss, Beyond Centauri, The Penwood Review, and Saddlebag Dispatches, among others. He is a proud member of Authors Anonymous 2.0 Writing Group, Ozark Creative Writers, which is actually where I met you, and the Bumbershoots Writers Society. I want to pause here because I gathered in a pre-show chat that you have Crimes, Sins, and Misdemeanors. It's an anthology, and you reminded me that Crime, Sins, and the word "and" is actually the ampersand.
Yep.
And Misdemeanors is available on Amazon.com. It's an anthology written with a couple of partners.
With some invited guests and the members of Bumbershoots Writers Society.
Okay, cool. And I didn't even know about this book until you just showed it to me. You have a book of poetry. It's called Newspaper Reading.
Yes.
Also available on Amazon.com.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure these are in the show notes. I just have to clean up my writing here. All right, so finally, currently he is working on projects as varied as a middle grade reader, Gray Hall. 2 children's books, Little Brutus and Jeremiah.
Finder of Lost Things.
The Finder of Lost. Oh, so the full title is Little Brutus and Jeremiah. Okay,
Little
Bob.
Brutus is one book, and then Jeremiah, Finder of Lost Things.
Got it.
Book.
Thank you for clarifying. 2 books, Little Brutus, standalone, and Jeremiah, the Finder of Lost Things. And a memoir, We Miss Our Brother, about the day-to-day difficulties of living with a traumatic brain injury. And this is what we chatted about over lunch when we were up in Eureka Springs. Yep. Okay, cool.
And Jeremiah, Finder of Lost Things is a book I am donating all the profits to Autism Involves Me, because Jeremiah is an autistic boy, and the illustrator for that book is my 18-year-old autistic niece.
Wow. When can we expect that book to be released?
We're hoping to get it out by April.
By April. Okay. Let me just clarify in my notes here. I have https jc-crumpton.com,
Yes,
right?
My website.
Your website. Okay. Instagram's _JC_Crumpton.
Yes.
And then finally we have facebook.com JC Crumpton author.
Yes.
All right. These are all going to be in the show notes. So folks, I'm going to get that out of the way now because if you want to track some of these things that are going on with JC, I got to tell you, it's been very entertaining, just the few opportunities that we've had for pre-show chats. So, and that the book newspaper readings that you just gave me, that's pretty interesting in itself. All right, so let's go back to this. I'm curious. Turkey herder. What in the world is a turkey herder?
Well, turkeys that are raised in commercial production in houses, like chicken houses you see on the side of the road, they can be turkeys also. But when they're younger turkeys and they get bigger, they're too big for the houses, so you've got to move them to another house. And domestic turkeys are not as smart as wild turkeys. They are probably some of the dumbest creatures on the world. And we basically would just get out there with sticks with flags on them and herd them along, and they just go willingly to their next location. It'd be like you'd have a whole big flock going down the road.
So did you answer an ad in the paper for that job or what?
No, it's some family friends that raise turkeys.
God bless you. That is funny. You well, let's go to your I think this would be a lot easier if I just said, give me a snapshot first of your life today, and then we'll go back and work our way to where you're at now.
Okay.
So give the audience a snapshot of who JC is today.
Well, today, and I do a lot of writing. I'm trying to get out there, like we said in the pre-show chat. I'm not James Patterson yet, but that's the goal. But however, so I have to have a source of income. So I'm substitute teaching and also doing DoorDash.
Oh.
So I get to be my own boss, basically. I work for the Bentonville School District as a sub in different subjects every day, different classes every day, different students. And I always joke with the students. I'm going to go in there. I always tell them, okay, I am not your teacher, as you can tell, but I'm going to be the meanest sub you've ever had.
No way.
And it sets the expectations. Nobody usually, I have, since I've been doing it since January, I have only had to call the office once on a student.
I don't know. You say meanest sub, and I'm thinking of, what's that, Key and Peele? Have you seen their skits?
Oh, the AA Ron.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Okay. I mean, it seems like you'd be kind of a fun teacher to have. So when you set those expectations and then, so they're on guard, but then what happens? You turn into this great, I don't know, influencer in front of a group of future leaders of America. What does that look like?
Well, one of the things that several of the students have told me is both I'm proud of and then I'm concerned about, because it's like, I remember when being a teenager, I was 15, 16, I knew I was the smartest person in the entire world and nobody could tell me what to do or how to do it. I always read fiction books during school hours and was always getting in trouble for that. But I always knew the answers to the questions they'd ask me, so they couldn't really get in trouble. But the kids have told me that, oh, I've learned more from you in these 2 days than I've learned from my teacher all year. And I'm like going, inside, I'm like going, well, that kind of makes me feel good. But it also, I'm really thinking that's because you're probably not paying attention.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You're that's your normal teacher. You're being, like I was when I was that age.
Right. Oh, I can see
so,
that.
And so I understand them, and I talk with them, and I tell them my stories about the head injury, about being a military brat, being on a plane whose engine blew up, almost drowning in the Pacific Ocean when I was in Mexico. So there's lots of different stories in there. They're just like, you have lived a really interesting life. And I just,
is that why you're a cat person? Because you've got as many lives as a cat?
It may be, but I'm trying not to push it anymore because I've had the cancer and the 2 blood clots. The whole leg was clotted, and the traumatic brain injury.
I don't even know which subject to tackle first because I'm interested in all of them. So, but you had, the audience knows Team BS is Bob and Shannon, and you met my wife coming in the house, and of course she's never met a stranger either. So, you shared some things with her that I think I just for the sake of the audience, just to show that, you've got your own journey and normal path like most folks. I like how you talk about your present wife, but you said, I don't even remember. Can you remember how you put that across to my wife about you married the wrong woman?
And married the wrong woman.
Yeah. See, do your best you can. I can't paraphrase you, but say what you said, because I saw my wife smile the way you said that was cool.
We were not compatible. Basically, I was 21 years old when I started college in a relationship, that guys look for.
Right.
And that wasn't enough to keep a marriage together. But though I am one of those people who, if I take a vow, If I make a promise, I will follow it or die trying.
Hmm.
So I never asked for a divorce, but when she gave me divorce papers, I signed them and was wiping the sweat off my forehead. But then I was going to move to Wichita to finish, to start on my master's degree in creative writing. But I met the right woman at a bar in Fayetteville and asked her to dance. And she said, no.
Oh.
And she said, she said, I need to go to the bathroom, but I want to talk to you. And I thought I was just getting brushed off. So I just waited there. And she sat down and talked to me. And we ended up going outside and talking until the place closed. And the next Thursday, I would have married her that night if she had asked me. But that Thursday, we ended up just going around driving around because our first date was actually that Friday.
That's cool.
And she said she didn't know that I was the one until that Thursday, though.
Ah. So this is 20-something years ago and 2 kids and a cat and a dog.
Yep.
Wow. Well, I think, you married the right one.
Yep.
And the part that got me was when you said she was originally from Louisiana, my eyes you saw lit up because I think, no offense to anybody out there, but Louisiana food's the best. But your response to that was?
Well, she was just there for a few years.
Yeah.
And then she moved up here because her family's from Springfield, Missouri, and Pittsburgh, Kansas.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right. So kudos to her. What's her name?
Chrissy.
Chrissy? Hey, shout out, Chrissy. You got a great man here, man. I'm happy for y'all. All right. It's really funny that you're a cat guy. It's kind of reversed, right?
Yeah.
Usually the ladies are cat people and the guys are dog people. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what was it like growing up as a military brat? Because your bio, man, you've been all over.
I loved it. I've done some research on it later, and they say that there's one of two types. Either you really hate it or you really love it. And I was one of those ones that really loved it. I loved just going to new places and new experiencing new things and meeting new people. I still don't meet a stranger. My wife and I went on a cruise a few years ago, and I just would go sit with random people. We missed the main breakfast one time, and there was a bunch of other families, and they said, okay, well, you guys can go to this one place to eat. And so we all walked over there, and they're like, well, how many tables do we need? And I said, well, why don't we just all sit at the big table? And we all just sat at the big table, and we met these great people. Some of them were on their way to the Cayman Islands for a destination wedding. Their daughter was getting married, and they were just on there to get there. They weren't going to make it all the way back to Miami. They were going to stay in the Cayman Islands for the wedding. He worked for the State Department, and she was a teacher in D.C. So, it met some great, fascinating people just doing that. And I met on an airplane one time when I was working for the corporate world, met the former secretary of the former Nigerian president. It's just, you never know who you're going to meet. And you have to always be ready just to talk to someone, listen to their stories. Because I'm a storyteller, I want to hear everybody's story also.
I get that. Yeah.
And when you and I met,
right,
it was just hit it right off. Didn't know, I'm not shy. And even though my daughter, when she was younger and she was learning about introvert and extrovert, she goes, Daddy, you're an extrovert and I'm an introvert. I said, no, you have that backwards. I said, I'm an introvert and you're an extrovert. She goes, but you're not shy. I said, well, shyness doesn't really have anything to do with introvert or extrovert. I said, I get my energy from inside. I said, but have you noticed how you always have to be around everybody? I said, you're an extrovert. She said, but I'm shy. And I said, no, you lack confidence.
Oh,
so we've been working on that with her since she was young. She's now 29, has given me 3 grandchildren, including my grandson was born on Father's Day this year.
Oh my gosh. What a gift.
That was perfect.
What a gift.
Yes, her husband also received a son on Father's Day, but
sure.
That's on the side point. It's about me.
That's right. Yeah, you make a couple observations that I agree with. I'm glad you said this because you know Lynn Combs. I met her up there at the Writers Workshop as well. And I'm glad you said it because there's a lot of aspiring writers out there. And people are under the impression if you've published a book, you're a millionaire.
Oh, no. Less than 1% of writers can support themselves on their writing alone. And that's just supporting themselves. So when you see the James Patterson's, David Baldacci's, J.K. Rowling's. Those are the people. Nora Roberts. Those are the people that are that less than 1%. I mean, it's a business, and
That's right.
It's for any publishing company, it's return on investment that they're looking for.
And on that same note, though, so people that are aspiring writers, and my wife asked me this because I dabble. I'm nowhere near what a lot of the folks are that I've met at the writers' workshop. But she asked me, "Are you doing this for pleasure or for money?" And well, yeah, like Lynn said it so succinctly. All writers want to make a check.
Right.
But like you and a lot of the other folks that I've met, and including myself, it's therapeutic. Yeah. There's just something magical about sitting down with a pen and a paper. And I noticed too, I talked to a couple other people that if they've got like the $ in front of them, they find that they get stumped a lot more. And if they take the $ out of it and they just want a free flow, then it's like there's no pressure and stress. But then I talked to, and I don't want to mention the names of some of these. I have actually interviewed in passing, how we meet people, that they have deadlines they have to meet. Well, one of them I can mention because he's passed. Father Gerzone, Joseph Gerzone wrote The Shepherd and Joshua and the Children. Wrote the foreword of my first book. Great guy. But he made it pretty clear that if you free flow and you write to enjoy, you just put it down on paper. You have thoughts on that? I mean, kind of jumping around here, but
I agree. You write because you have to. You write because you have a story to tell. It's well, on the way down here, for example, I had to actually pull over and write a line that I'm working on for this book I've been working on it off and on for 2 years, and every now and then I'll just have, I need to put this into it. And it's a poem that, part of a poem that one of the characters writes. And I had to write those lines down, and let me see if I can remember it off the top of my head. I mean, I've got it in my notebook. I'll get it out.
So when you have these epiphanies, do you have to capture them right away or they're gone?
Yes, I do, because of the TBI. That's why I have this book.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. That's cool.
It says, "You're one of those lights which made people of old believe the gods walked among us."
Wow.
And he's reading that at a woman's funeral.
Wow. Okay. He's not bored. He's just, Danny just groaned. I don't know if that's going to come across on you. These mics are super sensitive, so I don't know if that'll come across. That was funny timing. I was asking you something else. So like jumping around is nothing new for our audience. They're probably used to me doing that. You mentioned in our chat over lunch that you had alcoholism in the family. I don't know how comfortable you are about talking about that, but what does that look like if you care to go there?
I'm an old sailor, so I've been in a few bars, but my doctors have told me that I have a weird metabolism. Mm-hmm. Like I will wake up in the middle of surgery. They can't keep me asleep. I have never experienced the euphoria from opiates. My body just burns through it too quick. I was having oral surgery and was telling the dentist that, I said, well, I'm starting to feel this. And he goes, nobody burns through this stuff that quick. And I'm like, well, just talk to my regular dentist. And to numb my mouth, they actually have to give me the maximum that they're allowed to by law. And then also with alcohol, I have never been hungover.
Wow.
And I have only one, when I was in the Navy, I had only one blackout incident. And it was just for a brief moment. But I have seen what it has done to other people and family members and friends, shipmates. I don't like the effect of what it does to other people. My son one time was with me and I bought a 6-pack of beer. And he came up to me and he goes, "Daddy, I was with you when you bought this 6-pack. He goes, that was 6 months ago. There's only one gone." I said, "You're right. I only drink when I want to. If I feel, hey, it'll go good with this steak, I might have a beer. Or if it will go, I may have fish. It's like, oh, I need a wine. I do it when I want to, not because everybody else says, or I need it. I don't need it to loosen up or anything like that, because I'm not shy. I'm not afraid to talk. So I don't need it. But when people have the dependency on it is when to me, it's when it gets in the way of friendships and relationships. When it becomes more, I value the relationship and friendship more than I do any substance.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I was big into the raves and techno. And
really?
Yeah, we'd go to the warehouses and set up tents and stuff and do all these things. But when it started realizing that there was so much drugs involved in it, I walked away from it, even though I love that music. And, I have a big vinyl collection. And when I get a new record, my granddaughters will go, "Are we going downstairs and dance, Pappy?" So we'll all go downstairs and dance. And I mean, I love music, but I walked away from it because drugs were more important to people than the music.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, 80s, was kind of my coming of age period, right? And I remember going to clubs and I was in the Army at that point, and just watching the free flow of drugs and it, to each his own type of thing. But then to watch, and you know where I'm going with this, but to watch people just like Jekyll and Hyde.
Right.
Some people, they loosen up but other people, they become so loose that thank God they didn't have social media in those days.
Exactly.
It's like, wow. And special warning today, people don't realize that once it's captured and it's on the net, man, it's there forever. So it's, I think you and I are very fortunate to live in a day when that didn't exist. I feel for folks today because I'm a reel watcher, those clips.
Yeah.
And I know people are going, oh, I wish they like that poor lady at the Phillies game.
I didn't see that one.
How she's basically a kid got a ball and I know the audience.
Oh, the teacher who got fired.
Is that what happened over?
I think she got,
oh my gosh.
She took it from the kid. Yes. Yeah, I did see that.
Oh my gosh. Whatever. So we digress, but that's normal. In your family, as far as siblings go, you just shared with me a little while ago that you had 3 sisters?
I have 3 sisters by blood and an adopted sister.
Okay. And so there was 5 of you?
Yes, but the youngest sister was my little sister's best friend, and after I joined the Navy is when she moved in with us. So I didn't have a whole lot of experience.
Oh, I see. I see.
But I mean, my mother was mom, my father was dad to her.
Oh,
so it was, and so it was. And every Brother's Day or my birthday or Father's Day, she always messages me and calls me.
Oh, that's cool. Are you the oldest of the siblings?
I'm the oldest.
Okay, thank God, right? Otherwise, you'd have found yourself dressed up in Barbie clothes. I don't know how that works.
Well, I mean, who's to say I didn't anyway? I always joke. I always tell people, my father was military, so he was gone a lot.
Yeah. And
then when he retired, he still worked, and my mom was home. My grandfather died in Germany, so my grandmother moved in with us here in Arkansas. And so I had 3 younger sisters, a grandmother, and a mother. And I always joke with people that I joined the Navy out of high school so that I could learn how to pee standing up.
Oh, my God. Okay. That's good. All right. Very cool. And you're tight with your siblings? You guys just all mesh? You don't have issues there? I mean, it's really not a big deal, but you just seem to get along with everybody.
Well, that's why the title of my memoir is going to be We Miss Our Brother.
Oh.
When you have, especially frontal lobe damage, your personality has changed, and it's in an instant. So, and I talk about this in my memoir about how when we wake up and we start, because I have 6 months of my life that is gone. I can't remember it.
So let me just back up because I want to hear this. But I saw the pictures of the car accident. I definitely don't want to post that on the show notes. I can't believe you survived that. First of all, when you showed me those pictures, I don't know how that's possible. So I want to talk about that more. But how old were you when that happened?
18.
18, and you were in the Navy.
Yes, I was. I went in and then I switched to active reserves because I was going to go to college and go back in. Do my time.
Right.
My two weeks a year and a weekend a month so that I could have time served, then go back in, go to OCS and become an officer and make it a career.
Right.
My father was career Navy, retired as a chief.
Oh, okay.
My maternal grandfather was a corpsman in World War II, and he was attached to the 1st Marine Raiders.
Did you see the shellback?
It was the shellback certificate?
That's my grandfather when he was at Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
So, yeah, I can identify. Please continue.
But so I wanted to make it a career. I also wanted to be able to say that I'd retired at 37.
Right.
But God had other plans.
Yeah. So how? So the accident happened. We really don't need the details of the actual accident, but you were talking about the accident happened 6 months. Were you in the hospital 6 months?
No,
or?
I was only actually in acute care. I was in a coma for 4 days, and 8 days after that, I was already at home. I was only in the acute care hospital for 12 days, but I was in rehab for 6 months, but not the 6 months right after.
Yeah.
My sisters worked a lot on my rehab.
Wow.
They watched the cognitive therapist, the physical therapist, and the occupational therapist, what they were doing, and they tried to emulate that when I'm back home. So basically, one of my first memories after the accident is duck walking across my parents' front yard.
Wow.
And my sister Tammy was working on my physical rehab, and my sister Pam would work on my cognitive. And my memory was so bad that she could play memories like with cards.
Yeah.
Flip over two that are the same, turn them back, and I couldn't tell you what they were.
Wow.
So
I do want to go back to that, but progressing to now, how is, gosh, you're self-sustaining, you're working, you're writing. So do you still have the effects of the TBI?
Yes. I still have short-term memory difficulty.
Okay.
That's why I have to write everything down.
Okay.
That's why you had to remind me to send you my info.
Right.
Because I wrote it down in a place that I didn't check.
Okay.
So, but if it gets in long-term memory, it's there. And so it's that problem of getting the working memory or short-term memory to get recall. And so a lot of times I've worked through rehab, and anybody who has a head injury, I definitely recommend they go to rehab. I hear it, read it, write it, see it, say it. And so I do all that to try to get it from the working memory into long-term.
Hear it, read it, write it.
See it, say it.
See it, say it. Oh, what a great methodology. Okay. I'm going to guess that Chrissy has been your battle buddy through a lot of this then.
Yes. When we first got together, she didn't understand a lot of it.
Okay.
And so there's some emotional difficulties with frontal and temporal lobe damage. You have to learn basically all the safety belts that you have on your personality and your reactions that you learn over time are gone in an instant. And so,
give me an example.
Inappropriate comments.
Okay.
Like when I woke up from the coma, they would bring people in to say, do you know who this person is? And they brought a young woman in who I had a relationship with. And I just blurted out, said, JC, do you know who this is? And they said, yeah, we did it, didn't we? And she just left crying, and to me, I was like, things like,
oh, wow.
The nurse, and these are all stories that they told me. I mean, I don't remember any of this.
Okay.
So, but one of the things they told me was they had come in. My mom told me this because it embarrassed her. Nurse came in. I hadn't had a bowel movement. She said, JC, you have to have a bowel movement? And I said, not anymore. And I guess I had relieved myself in the bed. And they got out of the bed. And they said, I looked at it and said, I wasn't supposed to do that till I was 19.
Oh, God.
I don't know where that came from.
And I know we talked about this earlier, and I'm glad that you have the same type of personality. I know some people get like the shock and awe, like, I can't believe that happened. Where I'm the guy, like I went to watch an off-Broadway show, and there was a moment in the show where I was laughing. Nobody else in the theater was laughing.
Been there.
Yeah. And, I'm sitting with, my wife's looking at me, and I'm like, you didn't think it was funny? She's like, no, it's not supposed to be funny. And I'm like, well, I thought it was funny. And then there's other times where people are laughing and I don't get it. So I don't,
same here too.
why are they laughing?
Well, my wife, she really likes stand-up comedians, and she would get a bunch and bring home videos, and I'd sit there and she'd go, do you don't think that's funny? I'm like, yeah, it's funny, but I'm not going to guffaw. It's, I might smile, I might chuckle, but, I'm not. But then one time she came home and I was watching a stand-up comedian, but he was Icelandic.
I know what you're talking about.
And I was just like going, the things he was talking about, I'm like going, I mean, I can relate to those. It was like, yes, I know. And so she heard me laughing. She came downstairs to see what I was laughing about. And I was watching a comedian.
What is that guy's name?
I can't remember it. He had a Netflix special.
Yes, he's great. Yeah. He's slow in his delivery.
Yep.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. I wish I remember his name. We know the guy that's not that guy, but laughs at himself is Josh Blue. Have you heard of that guy? He's got cerebral palsy. And
I think I saw him once.
He says, now listen, he's got cerebral palsy, so he gets a pass. He gets to say the things, right? But if somebody else said it in an FCP, it'd go over like a pregnant high jumper. Yeah. But this dude just bringing attention to himself, I have to cry because it is so funny. And that's, we talked about this earlier. I think you mentioned your dad and you.
My son.
And your son. Humor is a great medicine.
Yep.
Right. I don't know. I'm cautious around people that are, like, what's the Joker say? Why so serious? I just, and this show is really not the platform for real serious. Yes, there are some mic moments. You shared something here before the show started, and again, and you lost one of your sisters.
Yes.
And again, huge condolences, man. That's rough. But obviously she was somebody that supported you through your stuff. And then going through your moments with the new JC, did these sisters, were they offended? You said your mom was embarrassed at your bed droppings there. What about your sisters?
Well, when I met Chrissy, this was after my accident, after my rehab, after college. So I introduced her to my family, and it came up in conversation about my head injury. And one of my sisters told Chrissy, we miss our brother. Because to them, I woke up a completely different person.
So if they miss their brother, are they having a hard time with the new brother? Mom, do you know what kind of guy you were before the accident? I mean, that's a silly question. I'm sure you do, but were you more serious? Because you seem pretty laid back.
Well, I have a bad tendency of being pretty intense. No, I don't. My perfectionism got worse about myself.
Your what got worse?
Perfectionism.
Oh.
If I, Leonardo da Vinci said that, art is never finished. It's only abandoned. And a lot of times I have a hard time giving something up to say it's done, to say, okay, let's publish it. I work on it forever and rewrite. And back before, I was probably a lot more gregarious, a lot more fun, just just being in the moment. And now it's because and part of it is with rehab, you have to learn that you have to plan a lot of things. You basically, when I went out with Chrissy for our first date, I told her, I said, I had our conversation planned from the beginning.
Oh,
so it's like, and if it doesn't go that way, you get, well, I don't know. And so you try to steer it back towards what I know and I've practiced. It's a hard thing.
Sounds like a little bit of OCD in there too, huh?
Well, it's more like CDO because it's alphabetical, like it should be.
CDO.
Because it's like OCD, except it's alphabetical.
Yeah.
Like it should be.
I think it's charge on delivery when you say COD. Okay. Because that's something else that doesn't exist.
CDO, CDO, because it's alphabetical.
CDO. Okay, I'm slow. I got a GED. All right. So let's go back to the book then. You're writing this book because observations your sisters have made to you, not necessarily observations you discovered on your own?
Yes, both.
Both, okay.
Well, I've also I have serious survivor's remorse from my accident because, about 10, 12 years ago, I had an MRI done, and my new neurologist looked at it and he said, I am surprised you are as high functioning as you are because there's so much damage. And so when I see that, and I remember back to like rehab, there were people there who had a lot less, they didn't have a car wreck like mine. It was, one of them was apoxia from surgery, didn't have enough oxygen. Another person was hit on the head by a tire rim, but never even lost consciousness. The woman with apoxia is bound to a wheelchair and has to eat through an NG tube for the rest of her life. She was a critical care nurse, and the other kid was a college student. The height of his life, and can't talk normally. Can't run, and I'm like, why was I allowed to come back? And like you said, I had a 30-year career in the corporate world. Sales analyst. Making good money, living a good life. Why was that? And so that's also why I'm starting this memoir, to get people to understand that your loved one who has experienced head injury is not going to be the person you remember, but they deserve to be loved for who they are and not for who they were.
Wow. Okay. So you asked yourself the question, you're writing this book. How do you answer your own question?
Well, some of it has been really hard because some of the things that, especially right when I first came out of the coma, my sister, Ann, who just passed, she told me that most people, when they come out of a coma, they come out gradually and you start seeing signs of waking up. She said, I came out instantly. But she said she was in the room, sitting there, and my eyes popped open and I immediately started swinging and started cussing. And in my research, since I started working on the memoir, the people who are most combative after a head injury usually have a better cognitive recovery.
Okay.
But it plays havoc on relationships.
Do you, I don't know, is that categorized as emotional swings, or?
It could be.
It could be.
One time, Chrissy and I were putting together a swing set for our daughter that my in-laws had bought her. And I got so frustrated, I basically reached over, grabbed a rock, and hit myself in the head with it. Had no inkling that this was going to happen. It was just snap, and it was there. And so that's what you have to learn, and that's what you go through rehab. And I've gone through counseling also to help develop compensatory strategies to help handle those emotional swings. So you start to recognize situations that you were in that created them, you get out.
All right, so let me ask you this then. So JC, let's hypothetically say you're in a situation that's causing stress at one time after, I'm talking about post-accident, you really didn't have tools to deal with it. Having gone through therapy now, can you feel like flags? Are there flags thrown on the field like, oh, I'm starting to feel a way that's not going to end well unless I inject some of these tools that I've learned in therapy?
I have to separate myself, and I can't be backed into a corner. I was talking to a woman that works at Baptist Rehab, and she was saying that on their head injury ward, a young doctor came in and was in the room with the head injury patient, and the patient just hit him, knocked him out into the floor. And she came by and she goes, "That was your fault." And he's like, "Why?" And she goes, because the patient felt like he had no escape. And so he just blocked the doctor.
Oh, wow.
And so when I get in those situations, I try to cut myself off, go to a room, shut the door, separate myself from what is making me frustrated or anxious.
You substitute teach. I taught for 2 years in a public school. There were plenty of times when I needed to go to a happy place, if you know what I mean, dealing with public school kids, right? Administration, parents, what have you. How is that effective for you working in a school environment when something triggers you or you get triggered.
When I told you about preparing the conversation with my wife on our first date, I prepare for everything that way.
Consequential thinking.
Yes.
Oh.
If this happens today, what am I going to do? If this happens today, what am I going to do?
Okay. Second,
how am I going to react to
this?
this? Right. So it's
that's actually a good thing.
Right.
I wish more people did it.
There's in some of the old music that I listened to, there was a sample that says, you cannot hope for the best without preparing for the worst.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that's what I do is I prepare for the worst. If that worst never happens, that's okay. And a lot of people say, well, that's no way to live because you're always expecting the worst. But no, I prepare for the worst. I'm not expecting the worst. I just prepare for it.
That's good. Yeah, I remember taking driver's ed in high school, and we had this driver's ed teacher, and he constantly pounded at us. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? And it was back in we had these big, bulky simulators we were in.
My wife showed me an old picture of one of those too the other day.
Yeah. So, but he would say, what are you going to do now? And he was like, you guys, when you're driving a death machine, you always have to think about consequences of your decisions. And I don't know what driver's ed looks like today, but I would say, hey, if you're going to be on your cell phone, which I'm sure you see it all the time, and it baffles my mind with all the statistics and the death that we see out there that people are still on their cell phones. And if you're one of them, folks, hey, I'm not judging. Yes, I am. Stop it. Okay, so
that's why I pulled over on the way down instead of trying to drive with my knee and write home.
Oh, exactly.
I pulled off.
You ever thought about getting one of those little recorders?
My mind doesn't work that way.
Okay.
I've tried it, and it doesn't flow. I'm a old school write by hand. Earlier this year I wrote an 80,000 word novel by hand, the first draft. So
no way.
And so now I've got to type it up and edit it before sending it out to beta readers.
Holy cow! So this might be something that would interest you. I just discovered on my phone there's memos, voice memos. This is the coolest thing. You know what? I'm a senior citizen, but I just discovered this. I'm a little slow. Teenagers are probably going, duh, where you been? So I can voice memo some of my ideas, and I know it's there. So I get home, and then when I open it up, it says transcribe. Yeah, transcribe. So then it shows me my words. And then it has this funky little thing called an arrow. And I can hit that arrow and email it to myself and pull it over to a Word document. Now, it sounds pretty tedious, and it would be, but when I'm out on the trail,
right?
The Old Rucker, I like to get on the trail with my backpack, right, or my rucksack. Or if I'm driving, I'm not going to look at my phone, but I can hit that voice memo and just talk away. And then when I get home, I can delete all the and because how you just talk out loud, right? If anybody else is around us, they're going to think we're stoned or something, right? Or high. So anyway, you were saying.
Well, I can use voice to text. I'll use voice to text and then send it to myself.
Yeah, exactly. That's another way to do it. Too. What's that?
And then I have a record of it too.
Why would that be important?
Because, in my writing process, there are things that I've cut from one story, but I've used them in another story. Mm-hmm. So I keep all my records. And I never understood when I was first getting into this why like J.R. Tolkien left some stuff to I think it was to the Oxford Library. It's like, well, why would he do that? Or to the Cambridge Library? Why would he leave all those notes and stuff? Well, it's because it's like they are important, because you develop and you bring all these things. Now, some of my books, I'll have just snippets of lines, like the one for this thing for this poem. I know where it's going to go, but sometimes I'll just come up with a line, and if I've used it, put a single line through it. And so I'll be looking at some of my old journals. I'm like, oh, this one doesn't have a line. I haven't used this one yet.
Oh, good technique. So, all right. Thank you for that. I'll remember it and use it myself. Yeah. I got to ask this question. You had said you ask yourself questions like survivor's guilt, and you're answering those questions. I ask every guest I ever have, tell me what your relationship with a power greater than yourself looks like. Some people call it God. Okay. What do you identify with?
When I had my accident, my parents didn't have a phone, and someone finally got a hold of them to let them know. And they drove in. So this is like 4:00 in the morning in the hospital in Fayetteville. And they came in, and the doctors said, go in and tell your son goodbye. He won't live to see the sunrise. They came in, didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't demand more work. They got on their knees and prayed, and I'm still here. That's my relationship.
Wow.
I mean, I know some people don't believe, but I mean, I'm a product of it. So,
amen. Wow.
But then again, on the other side, I have friends who are Hindu. I have friends who are pagan. I have friends who are Muslim. I mean, I have a lot of friends that are atheists. I have one. I tell people that I'm a conservative Christian anarchist, and one of my best friends is a humanist atheist Marxist.
A what?
A humanist atheist Marxist.
Oh my gosh, that's too many syllables, man.
Well, I mean, it's as far from me as you can imagine. And people are like, "Oh, I bet you guys have some great arguments." We've never once argued.
No.
We'll talk and you share a glass of whiskey or vodka, and after we're done, we'll say, "Hey, thanks. Appreciate your talk."
Oh, I love that. Yeah, our website, we describe, we're the host and the producer. We don't get into controversial topics with people, but we like to chat about them. We don't do politics on the show at all. It's just a waste of time. But when it comes to a higher power and spirituality and religion, I love those conversations. I too have friends from all different faiths, and I'm intrigued by them, and I want to know more about it. And if they ask me questions about mine, but I'm not in the converting business, nor do I want to be converted. I ask people because I want you to share your relationship with the God of your understanding, because people that are listening to this show, many of them already founded or grounded in their faith. Others may be searching. Right. So it's like it's a free flow conversation that I have with everybody. I love the topic of spirituality. To me, it's so vast and so interesting. It's just something I like to entertain. So if you wanted to talk more about your higher power or God as you understand him, and this platform's yours,
My mom, she used to always say, you should never talk about sex, politics, or religion in polite company. And I would always look at it and I'd say, well, then you don't have anything interesting to talk about.
Well, we do have episodes about sex. That's always a great topic. We leave politics completely alone. I don't know why, back in the day we could have conversations, right, with politics and no big issue. But today it's like people just literally will disown family members over politics. I'm like, wow, that's kind of deep for me. I can identify with that. But religion, if it starts to get a little silly or whatever, I'm smart enough to back off, okay, I'm just curious, but to me, especially when I'm talking to a brother like you that's gone through that amazing ordeal, surely there has to be, and that's why I asked you, what's your spiritual relationship like? I mean, nobody just comes out of that. After I saw those pictures, I'm still baffled that you're sitting here. It's like, how did they not, just like a can opener would hope that they would find an intact body, and amazing. Again, I would never post those pictures, but I'm glad you showed them to me because it really gave me a very strong perspective of what you went through.
As we're sitting here, though, you can see some of the scars. And
wow.
Hand was crushed and elbow was broken. I broke every rib on this side.
God bless you.
It was...
Wow, Brooke, you woke up out of a coma in 4 days in a fighting stance with all these broken ribs. That must have hurt.
Oh, they said that I also, at one point, had gotten out of the bed and was dragging the bed down the hall.
Wow.
But also, after the head injury, I had an instant tap on my adrenaline. And one of my friends, it was during a thunderstorm, and I was freaking out. And he was trying to hold me down. And they said I pushed him, and he bounced off the wall. And I caught his shirt and lifted him, straight armed him above the bed and said, "I want my dad." And put him back down. He ran and got my father and never came back in the room, apparently.
Must have thought you were the male version of The Exorcist or something.
But then he also ended up marrying one of my sisters later. So
okay. So, all right. So you guys have mended the fence, all right? Let me see what else I've got in my notes here. I think we've covered quite a few of them. Yeah, wow. I can't believe we danced through a lot of these already. You know what? So let me transition. I found some information on Dr. Webb about traumatic brain injury and writing.
Okay.
And that's kind of like the theme of this episode is therapeutic writing and recovery. So I'm just going to hit, as we go through these, and maybe you could give me some JC perspectives. Okay. All right. So the opening here, it says therapeutic writing, particularly expressive writing and journaling, can be a powerful and effective therapeutic tool for individuals dealing with traumatic brain injury. It offers significant benefits for both emotional processing and cognitive recovery. The first of the list that's on here is emotional expression and processing. When you hear that, what comes to your mind?
Well, if you're dealing with a situation that made you tense or anxious and you write about it, you can handle it. You can process. This is you can see what happened, what led up to it.
Okay.
And I've done that with my journaling also. It's, start writing about, this situation made me upset. This situation made me, because I was a crier before. Oh my gosh, I'm a crier now. It's like my wife won't take me to chick flicks anymore because I cry more than she does. But it's, and don't get me, if you watch the videos about, soldiers coming home.
Oh.
And surprising their family.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm just like, or the ones that really get me. And sometimes I'll watch them to cry, to get that out, but the ones where the kids, they get their cochlear implants.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And hear their mother's voices for the first time.
Yes. Wow. I got to chill. Yeah.
Joy on their faces. I'm just like, just tears of joy coming down. It just does me so good, to see that. But I think journaling it after a head injury really will help you, because especially if you're just recovering, you're working all the time on trying to develop compensatory strategies for your handicaps, for your inadequacies that you have developed, and everything's always serious. And so how do you process? You're working so hard that you don't have time to process. And when you be able to write it down, and that's what they're finding out in schools now too, that schools all went to the laptops and everything, they're missing something. And so a lot of the schools that I've been working with, especially, they've started going back to writing essays by hand and stuff.
Oh.
And the kids hate it because they all grew up on computers.
Oh.
That's one of those things. I think there's something that goes from the brain through the neural pathways to the hand, and it forces you to slow your thoughts down.
Versus pounding on a keyboard.
Pounding on a keyboard, or even speaking, speech to text. It gets it out.
Yeah.
It slows it down in the process. And that's why I write my first draft on longhand.
Yeah.
Because I'm able to think about the whole process. What word? How is this paragraph going to end? How is it going to lead into the next paragraph? How's the chapter going to end? How's it going to lead into the next chapter? And so I can think about each of those carefully, and it makes the editing process a lot easier.
Wow. I'm feeling you in this sense. So when we've joked about it on previous episodes, my handwriting since I was elementary school was so bad that my dad bought me a Royal typewriter, tick, 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 and in the 6th grade.
Right.
And any report I had to turn in for any teacher, I had to type it out. So by the time I got to high school and they had the electric IBMs, man, I could jam on that thing, right? And then college, I could jam and knock them out. Writing today, I just thinking about what you just said. When I'm on, I don't travel with electronics. It's just a pain, right? So I always carry a notebook. And I'm like thinking to myself right now, yeah, I have discovered that. Like I'm on an airplane, have this idea, and I'm writing it out. It is very different than pounding on a keyboard. That's interesting. I knew it, but it was just in the back of my brain until you actually said that.
But my handwriting is atrocious as well. Sometimes I'll be like, what was this word?
Yeah.
And I have to figure it out just be able to continue the story. Like, especially if it's a name.
Oh, forget
I've actually,
about it.
I do a lot of fantasy and science fiction. So there's a few different names in there. And I'll be like, get to almost the end of it as I'm retyping it. And then I'm able to read something better. And I'm like, well, I've been misspelling this name wrong. And I have to go, Control H, and change all of the spellings. And I've gotten works back from editors.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, you spelled this person's name this way one time. And then these other two times over here, you spelled it a different way. I'm like, oh, you're right. I need to change that.
I do the same thing. Control H. What is that? I know Control Find. Oh, so H is find and replace. Control F is find. Yeah. Oh, see if I can remember that keystroke. Okay. So here's the other one, and another one. Cognitive improvement. And you know what? They give a little descriptive on all of these, but this one is brief. The act of writing can help organize chaotic thoughts, improve mental clarity, and enhance cognitive functions such as concentration, working memory, and planning. It requires focus on storyline and structure, which can help strengthen these areas during rehabilitation. It's called cognitive improvement. Thoughts on that?
Very similar to what I had just said. It makes you slow down and organize your thoughts and think. When I was in rehab at Timber Ridge down in Bentonton, Arkansas, that was one of the things they decided to work with me on that. They knew I wanted to be a writer.
Okay.
And so they focused on writing a lot. So I had to journal for the class. I had to keep, and you do a lot of writing anyway with that kind of rehab, because they create a day planner for everybody.
Okay.
Based on what your needs are and how you're best going to work with it. And so I have found that if I don't utilize a day planner, my life goes to crap.
Yeah, man, me too. But I think a lot of mine just has to do with age. Plus, my brain is a squirrel cage. The audience will tell you I'm all over. Well, you've experienced since we've been here. I'm all over the place. That's why I have a format and try to come back to my place.
My wife calls me a duck. I look calm and serene on the surface, but underneath I'm going 100
just going nuts, right? Yeah, I identify. All right, so we've got, let's see what this says. Building a coherent narrative. Trauma can fragment a person's sense of self and life story. Writing allows individuals to construct a coherent narrative of their experiences, integrating the injury into their life story and helping them move from feeling like a victim to a survivor with agency over their own life. Hence your book, your memoir.
Right. It's...
I think my dog's getting bored of this conversation, right?
That was a big sigh.
Yeah, it was.
No, sorry, I had a thought. That's one of the things about my short-term memory. But getting it out is important. Now I remember what the thought was. And I talk about it in my memoir. Waking up after a traumatic brain injury, after a sustained coma, I describe it to people as you wake up and you realize that you're in a play. Mm. And you know all your lines, but everybody else's lines have changed. And so you don't understand why your lines aren't matching up with theirs. The lines that used to lead to yours, they say something different than what you expected. And so you're wrestling with that difference, trying to create this new place, because you recognize the scenery, you recognize the structure, but the words have changed. The lines have changed. And your lines, what you thought were your lines, aren't matching up for a cohesive conversation or life.
A flow of dialogue.
Right. And so a lot of head injury people get really frustrated. A lot of them get depressed. There's a higher rate of suicide. It's in fact, when I was in rehab, they tested me and they said that I was in the deepest depression they had ever seen someone be in without being in danger of committing suicide. And I said, well, why am I not in danger of committing suicide? And they said, well, because you want to be a writer. And I said, well, does that mean after I publish my first book, I'm going to pull an Ernest Hemingway? They're like, no, we think you'll just write another one. And so when I wrote that first book, I was scared. I was scared. But then I was like, wait a minute, I got ideas for more books. We got to keep this going. But I am more prone to depression.
Okay.
But that's the way I have handled it through my writing, especially my poetry. My poetry is not roses are red, violets are blue.
Yeah, I noticed that. They're deep.
They're really, in fact, the poem Newspaper Reading that the collection is titled after ends with, I seek but never do find, I ask but never do receive, a pamphlet from Pueblo, Colorado on how to live, how to breathe, and to forgive myself for being born. And I read the whole poem at OCW open mic, and people were just like, whoa. I mean, no applause. It was just like silence.
Yeah.
And I tell people I write the dark subjects to get the darkness out of me.
Right.
To deal with it, to organize it, to process it, and to get rid of it.
That is a great tool, not just for people. I've never thought about these tools applied to as somebody with TBI, but definitely I could see where to apply to people dealing with trauma,
right,
depression.
These aren't problems that you can just brush under a rug.
No.
Or just, like you just snap your fingers just to get better like that. No, you have to deal with them. And so with all the things and symptoms that I've had come up, physical, emotional, mental, because of the brain damage, they have to be dealt with.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not going to function in normal society. I mean, I was blessed that my father's the one that found Timber Ridge Rehabilitation, and one of their caseworkers came up and talked to my parents and talked to me, and they said, yeah, we think he'd be a good fit here. But so this was almost a year after my accident that I went to rehab, and I had to go to rehab or I would have ended up in jail or dead. And doing my research, there has been in some prison populations, up to 85% of the people have a history of traumatic brain injury.
What?
And so, and I'm trying to understand this. And so I'm looking at it, okay, if they have not been taught how to deal with confrontation, they're going to get pulled over by a policeman. They're going to get frustrated.
It's not going to go well.
It's not going to end well. They're not. So that's why I practice a lot of things. I've been pulled over for like speeding and stuff, and it's like, I'm always just
right.
Hand on the wheels.
93.
Everything, facing forward. Don't roll down the window until they get there. I mean, I play this all. I had to use it yesterday. My truck died on the off ramp, up in Springdale. I was getting off on exit for going to Tawnytown. And I told your wife that I was been in Tawnytown yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, my truck had died right there on exit 72. So you had the 3 rows of traffic and then the exit lane, and I'm in the middle of it.
Oh no.
And so I called it towed, and they're like, going, no, you're going to have to call the police. And I'm like, okay, because they couldn't get there. So I had to call the police, and I called Springdale Police, and they said, well, you're going to call state troopers because you're still on the highway.
Oh no.
Okay, so I called state troopers, and they came up, and I'm like going, and I saw him come up behind me, had his lights on. So my hands are on the wheel. I'm looking straight ahead.
Man.
And then I reach over to unlock the door because he can't get on the left side because that's where all the traffic is. So he comes over and he opens my door and he starts talking to me. And I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. And was able to deal with it, But what was really freaking me out was people coming up behind me. Some of them would go on the shoulder, which was a smart thing to do. Others would see that I was stopped and had my hazard lights on and try to get back out in traffic and go around me. And I'm talking to my wife, and I'm saying a few choice words.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going, oh. And she's like, honey, I can't talk to you. She said, I could not be on the phone with you if somebody hit you. And I said, yep. So I put my seatbelt on, I put my head all the way against the headrest, and just so I'm like, okay, please, praying, nobody hit me. And when he got back he waited there for the tow truck to get there, and he backed up a little bit to give us more space.
Very cool.
So people would go around.
I'm sitting here listening to this. I can visualize it. That's nerving.
And it was right before 5:00. So that I-49 Northwest Arkansas is chaos.
I get it. Oh my gosh.
And we were talking about the driving before. My dad, when he taught me to drive, he said, when you get in that car, you are not driving for yourself. You are driving for everybody else on the road. A lot of times we have forgotten that. And I blame it on these smartphones. We have become such a narcissistic society. You know, all your selfies and everything. It's all about me. I have this instantaneous grasp on instant gratification. We have forgotten what delayed gratification is.
Yeah.
And how that can get us. So I can't imagine how frustrated a head injured person today would be, because they're used to having instant gratification. And yet, you know, you're dealing with all of this, and there's not going to be any instant gratification on recovery from a head injury.
Wow. Yeah, we've talked about on this show, the driving. Just it's like a me culture, me, and just watching people cut off other drivers, knowing somewhere they've got to know that they're risking that person's life, if not just their own. And I don't remember experiencing all of that growing. Now, listen, I was stationed in New York for a while. I think New York and Mexico are well, Puerto Rico. For my Puerto Rico listeners, stop signs are just suggestions over there.
I've driven in San Juan. I've gone all over Puerto Rico. And I did not know that in Puerto Rico, you could turn left on a red light. I was at a stoplight, and there was a policeman at the intersection in his car. And the guy behind me starts honking at me. And I point to the light. Luis Rojo. It's red light.
Right.
And he goes around me. It goes right by the policeman. I'm like going, oh. So I went after him. I didn't get pulled over. So I'm like going, okay. And I've stayed in high school. I saved up all my money so I could go to Mexico. And we stayed at the Grand Hotel right on the Zocalo, on the big square. And I got to see all the traffic.
And insane.
And whenever I was working for Timex, whenever we go to New York where we had a showroom, my boss would always want me to drive. Because I don't get nervous driving.
Right.
We took my wife. We went on the $1 Million Highway in the San Juan Mountains of Colorado. For her, it was a very traumatic event. Me, I'm like, oh, look at that. That's like 2,000 feet straight down there. And she's like, watch the road, watch the road. I'm like, well, I'm watching the road. And we got to Silverton. We were coming up north from Durango. Got to Silverton and stopped. And then I saw this semi coming, and he was doing pretty good. And I'm like going, he knows the road. I'm going to get behind him.
Right.
And we called the hotel and said, we're going to be there. We're in Silverton. You go, okay, well, I'll see you in about an hour. And it's like less than 20 miles from Silverton. I'm like, what, an hour? The road was very hairy, very twisty. Sure. But I'm following this guy breaking before the corners where he is, accelerating through, you know. We get down to the hotel and walk in, and the woman's just looking at us. She goes, did you just call me? I'm like, yeah. How fast were you going? I'm like, what? I have no idea. I was just following the guy in front of me.
That's right.
And
what do you think of the pig trail in Eureka Springs? Did you take the pig trail?
No. I took I-49 down.
Oh, okay. Well, I used to, I was a Harley guy.
Yeah.
So I would go up there because, Eureka Springs is an awesome place to hang out. Yeah. And the Harleys on the pig trail is just a fantastic ride. Unless you're, coming against traffic or people on their cell phones on those curves, really.
Oh, I love that drive.
It's beautiful.
I would, but I've also been, it's not the Dragon Tail.
Oh.
20, is it 21? It's east of 23, and it's pretty curvy too. It's not as long.
Yeah,
the curvy parts aren't, but it's pretty hairy. And so,
were you ever a biker?
I had a bike. Yeah, when my wife and I met. Yeah, and we had kids pretty quick. Okay, so got rid of it, and then we were talking, and I was going to get another bike, and this was a few years ago. We were in Lowell. And coming up to I-49, and I got behind a group of, this was right before Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue. Okay. I got behind a group of Indian motorcycles. Oh, okay. Yeah, and they were nice looking. And so we were behind them, and one of the guys was pulling a trailer, and he hit a strip, a flat tire strip. And we saw him, he didn't have a helmet on. And we saw him bouncing, and he got thrown to the ground.
Oh, no.
So I was a corpsman in the Navy. and it was right in front of us. So I pulled over and ran up, and 2 other people came. This one woman said she was a nurse. The whole time working out there, I've also become, OCD, germaphobe, so I'm like, well, please don't be bleeding. Please don't be bleeding. But I get up there and she said she was a nurse. I said, okay, it's been a while since I've worked, so you handle it. He wasn't bleeding, but then he shuddered, and then the blood just started flowing from the back of his head. So his heart had been stopped, but it started itself, and it started bleeding. Well, then he starts trying to get up, and I'm like, going, guys, hold him down. And they're like, what? And I'm like, going, he has a head injury. He's going to be combative. It'll just hurt himself. And so me and another guy were holding him down. But then the nurse, the woman who said she was a nurse, rolled him over. I was upset.
Wow.
I'm like, he wasn't secured.
Okay.
He was life flighted. The paramedics got there pretty quick. He was life flighted, but we knew some people that are in the cyclist community up in that area, and they said that he didn't make it.
Yeah. Okay.
And so my wife looked at me as we're standing on the roadside, and he's getting put in the helicopter, and she looks at me and she goes, "Nope."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. Because I knew exactly what she was talking about.
Yeah.
It happened right in front of her. And I'm like, but I'd wear a helmet. And she's like,
yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
But do I want one? Yes. I really want one again.
I don't want my big Harley back anymore, but I do want to get a tootling bike, but that's a conversation for another day. I miss it, but I need something a lot smaller,
No, I was just one like an 800 or something, And,
I had a big old street glide, man. That joker was a hoss.
I was looking at the Sportsters, just the 800. But.
Oh, man, the days of biking. Okay. You had said some things earlier, and I definitely am glad. It was a great segue at that time, but we digressed, and apologies to my audience, but you never know where I'm going to go. You had, in fact, you said, am I going to go the way of Ernest Hemingway? And that was a great opportunity to segue into this next question. What would you say, JC, is your purpose today? And I say that because I'm looking at, I don't know. I mean, of course, I've read Ernest, but I don't know. Did he lose passion? Did he lose purpose? A lot of people that suffer from depression and suicide is because they've lost track of a purpose or they don't have a purpose. Well, what would you say your purpose is?
There's a lot of suicides in their family, and they think it's a genetic thing with them.
Okay, but with you, what is your purpose today? What keeps you going?
Well, I talked about this recently. Why was I allowed to live a normal life after my head injury? My wife thinks it's so that I can write this memoir to help other people that have family members who have suffered and the head injured person themselves to help them. Even if I was only kept alive, my parents went in and prayed, and I'm only kept alive to say just one single word to somebody. That's my purpose, to help people. And even when I do when I'm subbing, I talk to some of these kids, and some of them are having problems, and just to get them to think about things a little differently. Yeah. That everything's not as bad as it seems.
Yeah.
When I was subbing at one school, and when I appeared, they said, "Okay, well, you got this class, and you will probably end up calling the school resource officer on this student." Going down there expecting the worst, but I said, "No, I'm going to handle it a little different." That one student was the best behaved student in that whole class that day. And they're like, "Well, how did you do that?" And I said, "I didn't call him out." There is this thing about, certain behaviors.
Yeah.
If you ignore them, they will go away. And I said, we have so many kids that have ADHD now.
Oh my gosh.
And, I was in one of those undiagnosed ADHD kids in school. That's why I didn't graduate with a very high. I made a 32 on the ACT, which was phenomenal as a junior, but my GPA was so low that I was put on academic probation at the university and didn't qualify for a scholarship because of my low GPA. Because I've already know this. I don't want to do it again.
Right.
I want to do the homework. But like some of the kids will, have their stimming, their vocalizations, and other kids get so annoyed at it, and they'll start yelling or saying something to the ADHD kid. And I'll be like, guys, seriously, when you react to him, he's getting a dopamine feedback.
Yeah.
You're actually doing exactly what you shouldn't do.
The class clown, right?
Right. And I mean, and that's the way I was. I was the class clown in 6th grade in Iceland. I don't even know if I was in the class a whole day. I was sent out to the hall or sent to the school counselor or the school psychologist or the school psychiatrist. I volunteered for lunchroom duty, and I volunteered for library duty. And my sisters will still joke to this day because we were all in elementary school.
Right.
And I was in 6th grade and the others were in 4th and 2nd kindergarten. And 6th grade was the closest to the front to where the cafeteria was, but they started at kindergarten. And I'd be out there and we'd have all our coats hanging up in the hall, and I'd hide underneath the coat and the kids would come by and I'd jump out and scare them. And so the kids would start walking by the coats. They'd be looking. So I'd start hiding on the other side of the hall and jump out. And the kids said my sisters all said they hated going to lunch because they never knew where I was going to be and how I was going to scare them. I probably got in trouble for that too, but I don't remember it. But the teacher didn't know how to handle that.
Right. Well, I think it's everything we do is a life experience. And you're telling your story about hiding coats. If I was one of the smaller kids, I'd be looking forward to a little spice for this boring school. Where's JC going to jump out at? So we're going to go into what we call free flow. And this is a moment, when you get an opportunity to, finish our show with, we got folks out there that are listening that know people that have dealt with TBI, people that have TBI. And so, you can address both parties or whatever comes to your heart. What would you say to those audiences? Again, those that know people that have TBI, loved ones maybe. How do I deal with this guy? And then the other one is somebody that actually has TBI and, trying to figure out what their purpose is.
Most important thing is rehab. Rehab is quick and close to the injury as you can. I credit my sisters continuing to work with me with both physical and cognitive and occupational after the accident that helped me. They couldn't quite deal with the emotional. My sister Pam tells a story how I was always afraid to sleep by myself. So one of them would take turns sleeping on the floor in my room. And she woke up one morning with me choking her. And she said that I was choking her because I told her that she was stealing my air. Mm. And then I reached up and grabbed a balloon that somebody had sent me and handed it to her and said, "Here, use this." And then I went back to bed. She was 11 at the time, 12 at the time. She went crying to my parents and never volunteered to sleep in the room again.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't.
Oh, I mean, I don't blame her. But so those are the things that they couldn't handle. They didn't know how to create the compensatory strategies that I've learned over time and at rehab to deal with that. And that's what they do with the professionals at an accredited, licensed rehab facility.
Okay,
will help you. But there's one thing also that both family members and a TBI survivor needs to understand. You are in rehab for the rest of your life. Mm. There is never a moment where you can, hey, things are going to go back to normal.
Right.
They never are. You will have to remember those compensatory strategies to help you deal with, because like I said at the beginning, all your seatbelts, well, this was before we even started recording, isn't it? When all the seatbelts, your constraints on on how you respond to people, all those that you learned over time are gone in an instant.
Right.
And so you need to understand that if your family member has it, they're not going to be the same person. They're not going to react how you thought they were going to react. You're in a learning process just as much as they are. And it is hard on the family. I can't imagine what my family went through.
Wow.
Chrissy has told me sometimes she felt like she has to walk on eggshells because she doesn't know how I'm going to react to certain things, and that makes me feel bad. I'm like going, I don't want my wife to feel like that, and I don't want my kids to feel like that. And so I actually talk about it in the memoir a little bit. I ask myself, am I a monster? But that's just feeding into that whole, the depression and the feeling that you're you're not as much as you were.
Mm.
And well, for example, I mean, I told you, when I was in ninth grade, I put my books, the first day of school, I put my books in the locker room, in my locker, and forgot the locker combination. I never did homework, never did classwork. I only took the tests. And that's why my GPA was always so low.
Mm.
But I had a memory that if I heard it, I could repeat to you word for word what somebody said, even in the tone that they say it. My friends all called me the human tape recorder. Now, I walk out of a room and I have no idea what I was doing. Hmm. And so you as a TBI survivor or a family member of a TBI survivor, that person's going to change and it's going to be hard work. It can get better if they develop and use their compensatory strategies. And I talk about these in the memoir also, the ones that I've used personally, because there's not a rule book. If you have this deficit, this compensatory strategy will help. You have to find what works for you. Okay. It's based on your personality, your old and your new personality, the things that you do have deficits in. I mean, you have to work on the strengths that you do still have to help. In mine, I still have a great memory if I get it in the long term. My wife and I have discovered that if there's music playing, I don't forget. My family was a musical family, and maybe that was just something that my brain developed over time. And so I always associate that. I mean, I'm always listening to music. The whole way down here, I was listening to music. I listen to a couple podcasts, but I mean, it's mostly music because it gets my mind open.
That's amazing. You just said some things that correlate with people that are dealing with isms. I mean, you got TBI as a category of its own. But then you have people that are alcoholism, drug addicts, all kinds of isms, that are embedded in a person's brain forever. And I don't know how many times I've heard this question. Well, when are you going to be recovered from your alcoholism so you can go drink? People, if they've lost their right to drink, it's gone forever. Right. And so they have to do very similar things that you just talked about. They have to be immersed in a recovery program for the rest of their life. Right. And I never thought about that with TBI. I mean, really, it's not like I've given it a lot of thought, but now that you've said that, I can see where when you have a frontal lobe injury that, you don't grow a new one. Right. It's there. So we have to learn to immerse ourselves into tools so we can, for lack of better words, be normal people in society. Yeah. Right. And again, shout out to Chrissy and your siblings and your parents for just being with you on this journey. I think that's really important for anybody in a recovery situation, is that they have people that love them, that are patient with them, and, learn to adapt to that individual as they have you, and as we would somebody recovering from anything, from trauma to grief to one of the isms. Wow. Very good point.
Just like I said, TBI survivor is always they're always going to be rehabbing.
Right.
So they're always going to be in rehabilitation. And so, for instance, the reason I had the MRI done 12 years ago was because I had developed foot drop. I'd be walking across a flat floor and my foot would drag and I'd trip. And I joked about it and I'd be like, hey, did you guys see that floor reach up and grab me? But so we went to the doctor, but he was just a GP. And he did the MRI and he gets back and he goes, yeah, you have MS. I'm like, could it be something residual from my head injury? He goes, no, I have several MS patients and they manifest just like you. So I went to the neurologist and he looked at it and he goes, no, the first thing he said was, no, you don't have MS. And he goes, but I am surprised that you're as high functioning as you are, because my brain looks like Swiss cheese with all the dead spots in it. Now, what he did point out to me was that the reason I was able to recover and live a relatively normal life is because the blood flow had gone around those lesions, meaning that the brain, other parts of the brain had adapted to what was missing. And what he told me, he said, now they won't be as good as that part that was originally there.
Sure.
But you have adapted.
Okay.
So
Good patch.
And a lot of it was because I was so young.
Sure.
But also because I've always had a desire to learn. Yeah, my GPA didn't show it, but my grandfather was a teacher. I read his textbooks just to read them.
Wow.
I mean, I'd read physics, college physics before I was a sophomore in high school. And some of it I didn't understand it because math was never my strong suit.
Right.
Until after school.
Okay.
When I became an analyst, I started to realize that, I can do this math stuff. And so I started looking at trends and statistics and things like that. But you are always going to have to be rehabilitating. And because you never know what's going to come up, what's going to happen. And loved ones, if you have a loved one who has a TBI, understanding is the biggest part. They're not going to be the same person. Get to know them. Get to know this new person. Because
That's good.
This person, like we said, still deserves to be loved for who they are.
Amen. All right. So in closing here, I just want to confirm something. If people want to reach out to talk to you about TBI recovery,
okay,
or they want writing insights, you're okay if they reach out to you on one of these sites that I'll put in the show notes?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Okay. So I'll put them in the show notes, but just if you're jotting them down right now, it's JC-Crumpton, CRUMPTON.com. And also they can find more about your book availability there and
yes,
on Amazon.com.
Yes.
Okay, very cool. I'm actually looking forward to looking at this memoir when you finally get it done. So, and I'll run into you again at this. I may not see you until then, but I do plan on going back to that Ozark Writers
Creative Writers Conference. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just met some great people. And your partner, Vanessa, shout out to her because we met years ago. I kept her number and randomly, I reach out to her every once in a while, say, hey, shout out, how you doing? Because in the back of my mind, I'd like to write something again. I haven't published a book since, 2011 or 12. But I want to get back into it, and she is just a joy to work with. And you get to work with her on some of these collaborations you guys do.
I'll be heading back up. She's doing the illustrations for Little Brutus.
Oh, my gosh.
The book we talked about at the beginning, yeah. My children's book, Little Brutus, she's doing the illustrations for it. And we're going to be talking about those tonight.
Oh, wow. When you see her, tell her to call me because I want to do a show with her.
Okay.
She is just, she's got a great story. I've had some great chats with her and just enjoy her company. And she's so jovial. Just such a great person to talk to.
Were you there for the award ceremony?
I was.
Yeah, so you saw that she won the cover?
Yeah. Yeah, that was so awesome, man.
Yeah.
That was so awesome to see that. Yeah, I was a little taken back, all those people in there. And then, they had these categories of placers, right? And just to see her, who else? Lynn, my gosh.
Lynn has had a great year this year.
No kidding. And I did a show with her. It's coming out here very soon. Okay. And then I met with the Cersei group. There was a bunch of them.
Gary and Kim and all that.
Oh, my gosh. What a bunch of great people. They're just great people. And, of course, I had a chance to chat with Anthony Wood, and we're doing a show with him in the spring.
Okay.
So, yeah, this writing therapy and writing idea that we've come up with, I really think that people need to consider a lot of the stuff that you talked about, Lynn talked about, that the forthcoming authors are going to talk about, just getting thoughts out on paper. And even if it doesn't go anywhere,
right? Just
journaling like you talked about earlier, just to get this stuff out and then be able to process it. And you talked about getting therapy. I can see the writing stuff out, and that, it's funny. The therapists they do their job. My son's a therapist, and they ask questions, what's going on? A lot of these folks don't know, but if they can put pen to paper and do that free flow, then they got something to go and talk about, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, that's going to be a wrap for our show. I know you got a long ride back before, like you said, you're meeting with folks tonight. So you definitely give Vanessa a shout out for me.
I will.
I definitely want to do a show with her. So JC, man, this has been a blessing for me. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm looking forward, and as we get more of your successes out there, I don't mind doing subsequent shows, in the future, see where we're at, and as time goes by, and then maybe when we get to this next writers group, maybe we just get a bunch of you guys to get, not a bunch, but a handful of folks in a room and just chat it up. You guys are, and it's funny the collaboration that happens. I watched you guys. What was that other guy you're with? Marlon?
Marlon, yeah.
Okay, watched him and Vanessa and you guys just chat. And there was another couple of people there. I don't know all these people. But just watching your ideas, just if I could just see a thought bubble above you guys, just all these attacks of cool ideas just swinging across the table. That was really fun to watch, Well,
Marlon and I have a anthology coming out next year called Gauntlets and Conches, Volume 2. And Vanessa's doing the cover for it.
Wow, you guys are a great team. Well, we need to capture these things for the show notes because I can always go back and post other stuff, because your show's not going anywhere. All right. Well, folks, that's a wrap on today's show. So what say you on today's episode? Leave your thoughts and comments on shoutoutfromthepit.com. And remember, if you want to feel good about yourself, go out and do something for someone else. And finally, as always, you're not alone. If no one's told you they love you today, we love you. God bless you and have an outstanding American day. This is Bob the Old Rucker. Peace out.